Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny was a movie a lot of us wish didn't happen because of how it just did not give us a satisfactory conclusion to Harrison's Ford time playing this iconic character, but now it appears that Disney has officially confirmed Indiana Jones is dead. I have a few different things to show off, but before we get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out the links in the description, follow me on social media, and consider supporting through Patreon or via YouTube memberships. Now, of course, I think that we all had a sneaking suspicion that this franchise would face issues going forward, right? Obviously, Harrison Ford is Indiana Jones and nobody could replace him as the character, and many people are sick and tired of prequel stories. But Disney is, of course, a company that wants to make money, and why would they keep a franchise that has made them cash in the past shelves? But it seems like that might not actually be their thinking, because the Walt Disney Company and Lucasfilm have seemingly confirmed that Indiana Jones, perhaps the greatest action adventure hero of all time, is dead. It says Harrison Ford has portrayed Indiana Jones since Raiders of the Lost Ark in the Adventures series that George Lucas and Steven Spielberg created to outdo James Bond at his own game. Now, I personally have never gone, wow, these two are so similar and one is better than the other, because I love James Bond, I love Indiana Jones, and I think that everybody can probably agree that they are amazing for pretty different reasons. But the Indiana Jones franchise became one of the world's biggest box office hits, joining Star Wars as a crown jewel at Lucasfilm and cementing Harrison Ford as a global superstar beyond the franchise from a galaxy far, far away. He has done a great job in Star Wars, a great job in Indiana Jones, and he does deserve so much praise, because ultimately the past two movies that have been bad, Dial of Destiny and Crystal Skull, were not his fault. He was not a writer, he was not a director or a producer. He simply was an actor working with what they gave him, and unfortunately, they didn't give him a lot to work with, but Dial of Destiny severely damaged this franchise. It did not make them the money they expected. It barely made its budget back, let alone the double that companies want, like at the bare minimum. A lot of fans of this franchise were just not happy with the direction that they were seemingly going in, but the recent Dial of Destiny, it says, seemed to finally see the franchise hitting a roadblock. Although John Williams was coaxed to hold off on retirement for one more movie, the film was the first to not be directed by Spielberg and based on a story by George Lucas. I think that they should have either gotten the entire band back together and gotten George Lucas to do stuff, Steven Spielberg to do stuff, and of course John Williams, or they should have not done it at all. You either need the iconic trio back, or you don't get any of them back and you just don't do it. But it says instead director James Mangold was hired, while the script was handled by a series of writers who unfortunately did less than perfect work with this film. It just was unfortunately such a bad movie. But let's be honest, there should have only ever been 3 Indiana Jones films: Raiders of the Lost Ark, Temple of Doom, and The Last Crusade, because Crystal Skull and Dial of Destiny should have never existed. Maybe after Crystal Skull they should have ended it there, but they just kept pushing forward. And now look at the money they've lost with these films. We're talking hundreds of millions of dollars between them. And it's so sad that now the Indiana Jones legacy has been tarnished by mediocre writers, some, very mediocre actors that they brought on. Not Harrison Ford, of course, because he has done fantastic. But unfortunately, they just have not been able, at least the past 2 movies, to capture the essence of Indiana Jones. And I've got to be honest, I would rather them not continue this franchise than put another Phoebe Waller-Bridge in the spotlight and continue to ruin this franchise and its legacy. And yes, we can ignore the bad content, but it shouldn't exist at all. Harrison Ford has done a great job with what he was given and will forever be Indiana Jones. And if they try to do a prequel, it's only going to upset people people because, of course, you're going to have to recast him, and then you've got this big legacy following around this new project. And at one point, it sounded like they really wanted Phoebe Waller-Bridge to be, the next Indiana Jones, and that hasn't worked out in the way that they expected. They really thought that people were going to like her simply because she was in one show that some people like, the British comedy Fleabag that she was in. That plan didn't work out for them. But you can't replace Indiana Jones. He did great as this character, even when, the story was dumb, the script was bad, and the feminism was prominent in the latest edition. I mean, he exceeded expectations, and there's not much more he could have done, and there's not much more that they really should be doing with this franchise. But as you can see scrolling down, despite everything that's happened, Kathleen Kennedy was reportedly pushing for a Disney Plus series to act as a continuation. But it says, of course, in a press release for the upcoming Disney Plus premiere of The Dial of Destiny on December 1st, there was a short but very telling sentence describing the movie as the final installment in the epic, iconic franchise. It's a very quiet way to confirm that the franchise is finally over, especially given the fanfare for The Dial of Destiny before it bombed. But it does seem, according to Disney and Lucasfilm, that it's now official. Indiana Jones is over, but I unfortunately do not think that it will be for long. They will not keep this franchise shelved, at least in my opinion. They are always tempted to, create either prequels or sequels and try to, get a franchise to make even more money than it previously had. And I do not trust the Kathleen Kennedys and the Bob Igers to keep this shelved, at least for maybe 5 years, a decade, potentially. But I feel like at some point they will come back to it. And that's sad because they need to just move on and start creating new franchises that don't suck. Well, Indiana Jones isn't a brand, it's a character, and it is a specific actor, and it's not something you can continue without Harrison Ford, and they need to realize that. I don't think that they will very easily, and I think that after all of these latest plans of theirs have been foiled, they've started getting it through their heads. But I don't think that the Indiana Jones franchise in total will stay dead forever. I do think that we will see some kind of reboot or continuation, like a decade. It's sad, but even though they failed twice, they'll probably view it as, we might as well try one more time, which is just not a good mentality to have. But of course, Dial of Destiny faced major backlash when it came out. Of course, Crystal Skull also faced much backlash, but Dial of Destiny was just even worse, at least in my opinion. I mean, they were both very bad films, don't get me wrong, that did not capture the essence of the original trilogy that everyone knew and everyone loved. But Dial of Destiny just had so much cringy feminism, and the writing was awful, and it just, the only saving grace in it was Mads Mikkelsen and, of course, Harrison Ford. I'm kind of happy to hear, at least for now, that Disney is shelving Indiana Jones so that they cannot continue to ruin it and tarnish the reputation of this once very amazing character and story and just franchise in general. But yeah, apparently Disney is officially confirming Indiana Jones is dead, at least for now, and I've got to be honest, I'm pretty happy to hear that. But that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this, make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And of course, if you didn't, make sure to give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I will talk to you all again in the next video really soon.